Well, hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Ashmit Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking at this hour. Sensex and Nifty end with marginal losses after a range-bound session. Mid-caps outperform with the index gaining nearly 200 points. Rupee gains marginal strength against the dollar, but remains close to the 80 mark.
Europeans buy more in one afternoon than I do in a quarter. I'd be surprised if that is not the condition still. But yes, we will buy from Russia. We'll buy from wherever.
Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says India will carefully assess whether to support a proposal by G7 countries to impose a price cap on Russian oil. Adds that he has no moral conflict with buying Russian oil despite the Ukraine invasion. Says he has a moral duty to the Indian consumer. Large parts of Bengaluru remain inundated with floodwaters as heavy downpour leaves many without electricity and drinking water. A 23-year-old woman dies of electrocution on a waterlogged road. Karnataka's chief minister blames previous governments and says the rainfall has been the highest in 90 years. Government and LIC may offer to sell 60% stake in the IDBI bank. Sources say due diligence from RBI is being sought at every stage of this transaction. Bids likely to be invited this month or in October. That's an exclusive. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Steel Ministry officials review the export duties imposed on steel and iron ore. Sources say government is examining a proposal for a calibrated reduction of steel duties, but the taxes on iron ore are likely to stay. Revenue Department yet to take a final call. Insurance regulator wants policies to be sold in DMAT form like stocks and mutual funds. IRDAI gets into a huddle with the industry on making dematerialization mandatory for insurance policies. That's an exclusive. The Aviation Ministry writes to the Finance Ministry seeking a higher loan limit for airlines under the Emergency Credit Guarantee Scheme, wants additional loans of up to 100% of their outstanding credit instead of the current 50% limit. Drug Controller General of India grants emergency use authorization for Bharat Biotech's nasal COVID vaccine. The vaccine can be administered on those above the age of 18 years. Former Tata Sons chairman Cyrus Mistri's body was cremated in Mumbai today. Mistry died in a car crash on Sunday. Top business leaders and politicians attended the last rites. Prime Minister Modi and his Bangladesh counterpart Sheikh Hasina signed 7 memorandums of understanding related to water sharing, railways, space, science and judiciary. Sheikh Hasina is on a 4-day official visit to India. Boris Johnson resigns as UK Prime Minister, says he's like a booster rocket that has fulfilled its function. Liz Truss, who won the Tory leadership battle against Rishi Sunak, will address the nation from the official Prime Minister residence. Well, the top story this evening, thousands of people in India's IT hub are reeling with electricity and drinking water shortage as large parts of Bengaluru remain inundated after heavy rainfall. A 23-year-old woman died due to electrocution while wading through flooded waters. The incessant rains have also left suburban areas waterlogged, disrupting travel within the city limits. The Bengaluru Lake has been swollen and adjoining areas remain inundated as well. Road, rail and air travel have been affected. Potholes on many highways have left commuters struggling for traction. Bengaluru's infrastructure is once again being criticized by many. Boats and tractors are out there on the streets for relief and rescue operations. Many people were ferried out of waterlogged areas. Chief Minister, meanwhile, Basavaraj Bommai, has promised to release 300 crore rupees for the rescue operations. He blamed a heavy rainfall and previous governments for the current situation. The city has received rainfall to the tune of 131 millimeters in just the last 24 hours, which is above normal. Commuting within Bengaluru has been impacted due to heavy congestion and delays. The Met Department has issued a red alert for the city for the next 5 days. Here is a ground report.
We are bringing you the visuals from Marthahalli, you see, which has almost many IT companies placed here. So these are the visuals that are here in the Marthahalli. You see, it's completely flooded. The road is completely flooded over here. So the ground floors are all empty. People had to vacate their houses and move to a different location. Locals are outraging, saying that they do not need compensation. What they are looking forward to is a permanent solution, because yet another year and yet another monsoon, and they will see this kind of situation. This is all about the encroachment, that why the situation like this has been created for them right now.
ये सिचुएशन इसलिए क्रिएट हुआ है क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो 70% जो लेक का एरिया है वो सब दिव्या श्री सुबह प्लेडियन और जो लैंड माफिया उन लोगों ने एक्वायर कर लिया है। जब उधर उन्होंने बिल्डिंग बना दिया है तो पानी वापस इधर की तरफ आ रहा है, यही रीजन है।
We honestly don't know what is going on and we don't know who to go to for help or what to ask for. We've been trying to do whatever we can to help ourselves. As you can see, the water on the Bengaluru road is rising.
You see, there's no drinking water as well. You see, these locals here are moving with their water cans here. They had to take it from the shops from here. Most of the shops too here are closed.
There's no network. I'm not able to do any online classes. Teachers keep on calling me. They're telling your attendance is going down. So there's nothing I can do. There's no internet, no current, no water to drink, no food, nothing else.
पानी भरा हुआ है, कहीं जा नहीं सकते हैं. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी में मेजर प्रॉब्लम है. Water, drinking water major problem है.
For last 90 years, such rain has not come. All the tanks are full and they are overflowing. Some tanks have breached. And there is continuous rain. Even today it is raining. Every day it is raining. This is done because of maladministration and totally unplanned administration of the previous government, Congress government.
We are bringing to you these visuals from Outer Ring Road, where you can see the complete Outer Ring Road is waterlogged, and that's the kind of situation that has been created here because of the heavy downpour. This is a second time in the week where Outer Ring Road is seeing this kind of a situation.
हाँ, हम लोगों को ऑफिस जाने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है. इतना पानी है, रूम का सामने भी इतना पानी है. हम लोग मेन रोड तक जाने के लिए नहीं हो रहे, प्लस उधर से ऑफिस तक हम लोग को जाने के लिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है.
Mostly who are suffering are the employees, because once they left the home, they're neither able to go back, neither enter. Okay, and this situation has been happening not from 1 or 2 years, it's been happening from the past 10 years.
They are also trying to pump out this water from this location, but it's becoming very much difficult for the civic body as well to pump out water, because every time that they are trying to pump this water out, there is again a rain in the city, which is again leading to such a situation right now.
In fact, to discuss this further, we'll be joined very shortly by Mr. RK Misra. He's an urban planning expert. We'll get to him in just a bit. But before that, let's go across to my colleague Ritu Singh. She's joining us live now from Bengaluru. Ritu, a grim situation. We saw visuals of the Upgrad founder being ferried out in a tractor. So again, situation looking quite grim. The Met Department says expect more rains till the 9th of this month. So again, what are you picking up from the ground?
Well, yes, it is the third day of flooding and waterlogging across the city. You've been hearing reports. I have with me some of the citizens from the city of Bangalore to talk about their experience. आप यहाँ बैंगलोर में कब से रह रहे हैं? ऐसी बारिश के टाइम इस तरह का फ्लड कभी पहले देखा है शहर में?
नहीं, मैं ऑलरेडी यहाँ बैंगलोर में 5 साल से रह रहा हूँ, जो कि मैंने बहुत सारी सिटी घूमी है, जैसे कि मुंबई हो गया, दिल्ली हो गया. बैंगलोर में जो बारिश हुई है 2 दिन पहले, वो बहुत ही ज्यादा हो गया है.
पावर, वाटर सप्लाई, किस तरह की दिक्कतें आपने देखी हैं?
देखा जाए तो कुछ जो एरिया हैं, जैसे कि मेरे भाई बता सकते हैं, ऑटो वाले भाई बता सकते हैं कि मार्थली से लेकर जो सरजापुरा के साइड में जाया जाता है, एक रोड है, वहां पर एक बहुत बड़ा तालाब है. तालाब का नाम बेलंदूर तालाब कर है. वो तालाब के पास में मतलब कि बहुत सारा पानी इकट्ठा हो गया. पानी इकट्ठा होने का कारण यह है कि इन्होंने जो सीवेज बनाया है, जो नालियां बनती है, नालियां के कुछ रूट्स रहेंगे ना कि जाने के लिए, बट जो नालियां की रूट्स हैं वो जाने के लिए बनाएंगे, बट वहां पर पूरी पानी जमा हो गया. अब कुछ जो बंगलोस है, जैसे कि रेनबो एक बंगलो कर है, कुछ सिटी जो बड़े बड़े कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिस है, वहां पर पूरा फर्स्ट फ्लोर तक डूब गया था. जो कि पूरी गाड़ियां डूब चुकी थी। अभी हमारे ऑटो भाई बताएंगे कि कहाँ
आपने क्या देखा है, शहर में क्या हालत है, कितना पानी भरा हुआ है?
जो लेकिन 4 फुट पानी आया है, जो रास्ता पे ऊपर जो 4 फुट है, गाड़ी चलने के लिए नहीं हो रही है, गाड़ी चलाने के लिए नहीं हो रही है, जो जाने के लिए आदमी का बहुत परेशान हो गया है, जो लेकिन किधर भी जा सकता नहीं है। जो बड़ा बड़ा राजकालवे है ना, वो पेड़ वो जाने के लिए नहीं, पानी जाने के लिए जगह नहीं है। जो लेकिन इतना बड़ा बड़ा बिल्डिंग बनाया है, जो लेकिन वो पूरा पानी जाने के लिए जगह नहीं रही तो कैसा जाएगा? जो रास्ता में ही आएगा ना। जो पूरा ऐसा हो रहा है, बेंगलुरु का पूरा ड्राई वाटर किधर भी जाने के लिए वाटर जाने के लिए जगह नहीं दे रहा है।
लोग कैसे ऑफिस जा रहे हैं, कैसे मैनेज कर रहे
जाने के लिए जाने के लिए भी नहीं तो घर में बैठ के काम कर रहे हैं ना। जब घर से बाहर जाने के लिए नहीं, घर में तो 3 फुट है पानी है, जो लेकिन खाने के लिए भी नहीं है, जो लेकिन जाने के लिए नहीं है। घंटा ट्रैफिक हो रहा है, कैसा जाएंगे काम को?
7 बजे निकलने के बाद मैं ऑफिस पहुंचा 12 बजे। कल के तारीख में 7 बजे निकलने के बाद मैं 12 बजे पहुंचा, क्योंकि पूरी पानी डूबने की वजह से ट्रैफिक लग गया था।
you've been a citizen of Bangalore. You've been here, you've been born and brought up here. I just wanted to understand, has the city ever faced a situation like this?
So I've not seen this kind of a flood in Arli. What I see is they predict in Bangalore in future they're going to be a dry situation. Due to the climate change, I see that various things are happening now. All the things is a city or a state where MS Visvesvaraya has born and he's been engineered and British have utilized his even consultancy. But why we engineers are not able to design to handle the flood or to harvest the rain? See, we can't just blame when we have a flood, we are blaming the water. When we don't have a water also, we have to be very cautious to save the water. It has impacted on particular 3 days or 4 days, a bottom of pyramid or a top of corporate, everybody has got impacted. Can we have a learning lessons? How do you going to alter this? How do you going to manage this? No doubt we have impacted. Let's not make wrong or right. Can we take a strict bureaucrat actions, irrespective of the politician who has comes or gone, whatever it is so? Can we have a self-respect as an engineer? Can we design the city to handle this kind of a flood or scarcity of the water? That is what being an engineering background and a city who has an aviation, let's be have a proud to handle any kind of situation, scarcity or a flood. And climate change has impacted every part of the world. Let's be ready to handle everything.
Right. Okay, Ashmit, you heard from the citizens. It's been a bad situation the past few days. And clearly, urban planning, that is something that is front and center and focus, with all of these days of incessant rain. So we'll have to see, how the city copes with this amount of excessive rainfall. This is also predicted in the next few days. Back to you in the studio.
Right, Ritu, thanks a lot for that. Our prayers go out for the citizens of Bengaluru. But in fact, to discuss this further, we're now joined by Mr. RK Misra, co-founder at Yulu Bike. Mr. Misra, you're also a policy advisor and an urban planning expert. Mr. Misra, tell us from an urban planning perspective, a crisis-like situation in Bengaluru, what has gone wrong? What could have been done differently?
I think Bangalore's boon has become its bane. Of course, when IT industry came to Bangalore, Bangalore had a fantastic environment, both in terms of the talent, skills, as well as the climate, weather. And that's why Bangalore grew much faster than it could handle. It was surprising and actually unfortunate to see our Chief Minister blaming the previous governments. His government, he has been for 2 years. Then his previous Chief Minister of BJP was there for 4 years. It'll be very important to hear what this government did. And of course, successive governments have failed Bangalore. And this is not the situation of this year. This has been happening every year. This year is excessive because the rain is too much. Bangalore has not had, unlike, for example, Noida or any other place where you have development authority which takes the land and allows people to build. In Bangalore, government does not interfere in the development. I think it's a land mafia, the builders and the government who are in cahoot. So buildings will be built first and then they will decide, oh, maybe we should make roads as well. And when the buildings are built, a so-called Rajkalve, which is, Bangalore is a city of lakes. And given that its height is 3,000 feet, from the top of Bangalore, highest point to the lowest point, there is a chain of lakes. When the one lake overflows, goes to the other lake. And the canal connecting the two lakes is called Rajkalve. Now, Rajkalve originally would have been 30 meter, 40 meter, 50 meter wide. Now it has become 5 meter because people have encroached. Small building, big buildings, slums, and everybody else. Now, successive government for the last 30 years, 20 years have ignored this. Now, what happens when rain is not there, 5 meters is enough. But then this year, because of excessive rains, whatever water was supposed to go in 50 meters, now forced to go in 5 meters. Obviously, water will go. So it cannot go in the drain, it will go on the road. And that's what is happening. Bangalore does not have, in fact, unfortunately, IT industry almost is fed up. There is a Outer Ring Road Industry Association. I'm also part of it. And murmur is growing very strong. People are thinking that enough is enough. Maybe government is not serious because the chief ministers come, do a PR photo op and go back and make these kind of comments, which he just did. But after this, what? Does he have a plan? Does previous chief ministers have a plan? No, they did not have. We citizens, in fact, we have tried to remodel one major, it's called K100, stormwater drain. Something like that should be done for all drains where no water flooding is happening there. That is something, and of course, roads, less said the better. Bangalore is now pothole capital. It's famous for potholes. So I think infrastructure I think Bangalore government has become very complacent. Karnataka government thinks that people will come here irrespective of what we do. I think government needs to wake up. The government needs to realize that industries will not be here just because they have been here. And this is how many cities in the world have become complacent and lost their edge.
Mr. Misra, if I may come in again. Mr. Misra, what you're telling us is that a number of governments, successive governments, have been complacent. The question I want to ask you is, there is a very clear majority that the government has, the current government at least has, in the Vidhan Sabha. Subsequently, there is also no shortage of funds. Karnataka region is in fact the second highest zone for GST collections after Mumbai. So there's no shortage of funds either. What's really holding back strong government action in light of some of the measures that you've highlighted, such as stormwater drains?
I think it's a visionary leadership. The last chief minister who actually understood the urban development, who understood the importance, was Mr. S.M. Krishna. And I remember going with him, touring the world and trying to sell India and Karnataka and Bangalore. Why all the companies should come to Bangalore. After that, all the chief ministers have only benefited from Bangalore. Nobody has invested in Bangalore. And I think the time has come. If they don't do it, maybe there'll be a problem. And I think second thing, I don't know if you've been hearing, there is huge corruption. 40% corruption is being openly alleged by the contractors. And these contractors are not behind the camera. They are coming openly. And they are not alleging the previous government or current government. They are saying this government is 40%. So if this government really believes that they are lying, they should take action against them. Because they're not taking the action that shows that corruption is there.
Sure, Mr. Misra. So what you're telling us is that there's a twin case of complacency and corruption is what you're telling us. My quick question to you, one last final question, that as far as the industry is concerned, you're the founder of Yulu Bikes. A quick question here. What message does this send out for the industry? Will they have a relook at Bangalore being perhaps the ideal destination for IT innovation if this were to continue in the future?
So I think people come for skills. But then, if your employees can't reach the office, what will you do with that? So I think government really needs to understand, and companies on the outer ring road, which are around 2,000 plus companies, they generate $22 billion in exports and revenue. They have written to the government that please wake up. If you don't do something, we cannot go and justify to our headquarters to continue investing in Bangalore. I think there will be repercussions, and government needs to be serious about it. I'm very, very worried that investment in Bangalore is not going to be automatic as government has taken it for granted.
Right, Mr. Misra, thank you so much for your insight and perspective. Expecting concern there being reflected by RK Misra on the state of affairs in the city of Bengaluru. With that, let's slip into a very short break now. News and updates will continue on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. Here's a quick recap of our top stories. Sensex and Nifty end with marginal losses after a range-bound session. Mid-caps outperform with the index gaining nearly 200 points. Rupee gains marginal strength against the dollar but remains close to the 80 mark.
Europeans buy more in one afternoon than I do in a quarter. I'd be surprised if that is not the condition still. But yes, we will buy from Russia. We'll buy from wherever.
Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says India will carefully assess whether to support a proposal by G7 nations to impose a price cap on Russian oil. Adds that he has no moral conflict with buying Russian oil despite their Ukraine invasion. Says he has a moral duty to the Indian consumer. Large parts of Bengaluru remain inundated with floodwaters as heavy downpour leaves many without electricity and drinking water. A 23-year-old woman dies of electrocution on a waterlogged road. Karnataka's chief minister blames previous governments and says the rainfall was at its highest in 90 years. Government and LIC may offer to sell 60% stake in IDBI Bank. Sources say due diligence from RBI is being sought at every stage of the transaction. Bids likely to be invited this month or in October. That's an exclusive. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Steel Ministry officials reviewed the export duties imposed on steel and iron ore. Sources say government is examining a proposal for a calibrated reduction of steel duties, but the taxes on iron ore are likely to stay. Revenue Department yet to take a final decision. Insurance regulator wants policies to be sold in the DMAT form like stocks and mutual funds. IRDAI gets into a huddle with the industry on making dematerialization mandatory for insurance policies. That's an exclusive. The Aviation Ministry writes to the Finance Ministry seeking a higher loan limit for airlines under the Emergency Credit Guarantee Scheme. Wants additional loans of up to 100% of their outstanding credit instead of the current 50% limit. Drug Controller General of India grants emergency use authorization for Bharat Biotech's nasal COVID vaccine. The vaccine can be administered on those above the age of 18. Former Tata Sons chairman Cyrus Mistri's body was cremated in Mumbai today. Mistry died in a car crash on Sunday. Top business leaders and politicians attend last rites. Prime Minister Modi and his Bangladeshi counterpart Sheikh Hasina signed 7 memorandums of understanding related to water sharing, railways, space, science and judiciary. Sheikh Hasina is on a 4-day official visit to India. And well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues on the other side.